10 now, so we had some drop.
There we go. We can test our volume and see how things are going and chit-chat for a couple minutes.
Cool. 10 now, so we had some drop.
There we go. We can test our volume and see how things are going and chit-chat for a couple minutes.
All right. Are we... I think we're getting, Noslam, your feed coming through twice, but it's whatever.
No, I got it fixed now. I got too many computers going on in here. That's the problem.
Yes, that is indeed the problem. Sounds like our volume is good. Elb, can we get you to...
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You would. Go with that.
Yeah, I'm really boring.
And D, how are you sounding over there?
I have no idea. Why don't you tell me?
Well, we'll be able to tell you in about 20 seconds.
I just love the bird get up.
Alrighty. And welcome, Mr. Kaizen.
Yeah, welcome, Kaizen.
Honored to have your presence.
We're going to have to deal with me tippy typing here for a little bit.
For a couple more minutes, yeah.
So, looks like no sound complaints so far.
I do feel like I'm being watched, though.
Well, that is a thing that happens when you're on a live stream. I don't know if you knew that when you signed up for this.
I did not. I thought only us were going to see it.
D and Elb, I think you might want to mute yourselves in the Discord just in case there's echoing problems on your end.
Completed.
Sounds good. So while we're sitting here waiting for 8 o'clock, I will tell you the story about how Kit was a true adventurer today at work.
Uh-oh.
When suddenly there was a giant beast entering the classroom. By giant beast, I mean a tiny wasp. And about 34 children started screaming at the top of their lungs and running out of the room. This culminated with me standing on the counter, which is like this wide. It's like a window counter with a folder with like 3 children that had braved the monster standing around waiting for me to vanquish the foe. And I did. And then the wasp body fell slowly through the air, whereupon 3 children with clipboards start smacking the crap out of it. And I'm like, is this really? And then an administrator walks into my room in the middle of this happening, and I was not happy. I had to make a lot of apologies for that.
Did you display its body as a warning to the other wasps?
No, because one of the kids took it as a trophy. It disappeared. I was like, where did it go? And they're like, oh, so-and-so took it. I'm like, oh. This is what I get for 8th graders, 13-year-olds. All right. It is the top of the hour, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Sound good to you guys?
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right. So, without further ado, welcome to the first Bordweall Broadcasting Company live stream, BBC. My name is Kit Landrio-Cast. I will be your host for the evening. Joining me tonight is King Deletherus of Bordweall, Noslam of Newell County, and Elbreth of Cedar Gore County. This is our very first broadcast, and we hope this will be a long-term endeavor here in the Chronicles of Illyria community, so let's jump right into things. We want you, the community, to get involved, so we are hosting a competition each week. We're going to broadcast a coded message, which I will get to just here in a moment. Viewers are invited to come up with a humorous or creative interpretation of the code relating either to COE, the game, or SBS. Only one entry may be submitted per viewer. So there is going to be a Google form posted in the sidebar, so watch for that to fill out. Don't worry, it's not going to collect your personal email or anything like that. You're going to put your name that you want used into the drawing there. This is meant to be a fun competition, so no slanderous, disrespectful, etc. entries. Those will be disqualified. At the end of the broadcast, this is important, the winner will be chosen by the host, which is me for the evening. The winner will be gifted 100 EP to the account of their choice, and you'll indicate that account in the form. You have to be present at the end of the stream to claim it, or we're going to go for the second best. So basically, we're going to call it out on the live stream. You're going to let us know you're here in the chat, or if you can't get on that chat for some reason, you can easily message one of us on Discord, and we will get you your reward. So tonight's code, listen carefully, is the wet turtle crawls east towards the hare. I repeat, the wet turtle crawls east towards the hare. So check for that link over in the sidebar where you can put your entries. Check and make sure it's there right now. Looks good. Anybody is allowed to participate. You do not have to be a member of the kingdom. I think the requirement is you basically need to have an account, because we can't award EP to somebody that doesn't have a account that can accept EP. All right. Without further ado, I want to jump over to our topic for the evening, which is the Soulmate system. So, Noslim, can you give us a quick overview of the Soulmates system in Chronicles of Illyria?
The Soulmate system, that little system that rarely ever gets talked about, and it's not going to be that big a deal until you find your soulmate, and then it's going to be a really big deal. So each soul in COE has its own twin. It's identical in every way, and if you have a talent, then your soulmate will have the same talent, so on and so forth. I don't know if that's changed since they've changed the talents to lifetime instead of soul specific, but I don't know, we'll see there. But in any case, finding your soulmate is going to be a pretty rare event, and when you do find your soulmate, it's going to be a game changer. So you know, if your affinity with your soulmate is aligned, you can do some pretty cool stuff. I hear rumors that if you have babies with them, you might produce little godchildren. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's going to be some little weird mechanic that's going to be really cool if that happens. But if your soulmate is not aligned with your affinity, you know, one coup de grace from them, and it's perma-death for you. So your soulmate is guaranteed to be on the same server as you. But the player may not choose that soul to play. You know, a base game comes with 1 spark of life and 3 souls. So who's to say that soulmate's even going to be in the game or even being played at the same time you're playing yours? That's a brief rundown of the soulmate system. If anyone's got anything else, I'm sure we'll have some questions throughout the evening on it.
Yeah, thanks for that overview. I wanted to see, Dee, did you have some expansion on the affinity system that you wanted to get into for us?
Yeah, as regards the affinity and the coup de grace, first of all, I'd like to kind of like backtrack and expand a little bit on what Noslim had said. From my understanding, each soul is created in a pair, and they'll kind of like be in packages, and we don't know how many of these packages will be spawned onto a server. So if there's going to be 100,000 players and they make 100,000 packages, you pretty much know that your soulmate is going to be somewhere on that server if that player chooses to play that particular soul. But if they make, for example, 1 million packages, there's only a 1 in 10 chance, or a 10% chance, that your soul mate will even make it into the game, so to speak. So the rarity is obviously going to be determined somewhat by those numbers that SBS finally decide upon. But as regards the affinity system and soulmates, I'm kind of curious, and obviously, you know, we're speculating here, is, you know, how much difference in affinity is needed to be opposite enough to be able to permadeath kill your soulmate with a single coup de grace. I think we can all agree that, yeah, if the guy is totally over to the dark and it's the most evil character on the server, and his soulmate is kind of like, the white shining angel, that they're going to do that. But what if both characters have only just slightly deviated at the time they meet? Let's say, the dark soul has done the equivalent of kind of like stealing an ice cream from a kid, and the good soul has helped a little old lady across the street. Has that generated already enough difference in affinity to be able to allow for this coup de grace system? And one of the things that I am excited about more than anything about Chronicles of Illyria is the fact that all of these mechanics are so in depth. It's kind of like, I think that it's kind of like new ground being broken for an MMO. And it's not just about the affinity system or the soulmate. I mean, there's just so much going on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And Elb, do you want to give us kind of some of your general thoughts in response to anything that Noslem or Dee has said so far?
Absolutely, yeah. And one thing that Dee had mentioned that I'm kind of curious about in the opposite direction, he had sort of mentioned how, if you have one character who's completely light and one character that's completely dark, does that mean you have to be mortal enemies with each other? Or could you have, for example, sort of like a Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader moment where at the last minute you manage to convince your evil soulmate that it's, that they need to change their ways and that they decide that they want to come back to the light? Is that a possibility, or are you sort of locked into this battle to the death with them?
I might be able to answer a little bit of that, because I think I have his Caspian's quote here, but basically he said that most importantly, soulmates whose affinity go in opposite directions become diametrically opposed to one another. To that end, there is only one way to get past such an antagonist. Now, your question, Elb, do they have to be antagonists? Can they not work with each other?
Is there any way around that? Or can you switch your affinity once you've gone too far? Is it sort of a...
Well, in Caspian's little blurb on affinity, he said, be warned, affinity is a slippery slope. Mm-hmm. Once you move to the light or dark, it becomes more and more difficult to resist. While not impossible, the Soulborn engine will be giving you tasks and objectives which it believes best suits your nature. Doing the opposite will mean failure, and there will be consequences for your action. So it sounds like you'll be able to kind of like slowly steer it back. If you're dark, you can slowly steer it to the light. But my interpretation of this is that the further you go into the dark, the harder it's going to be to steer to the light. Right. And likewise, the further into the light you are, the more difficult it is to steer to the dark. But at the same time, the Soulborn engine is kind of like, I wouldn't say forcing, but it's certainly encouraging you to follow that particular path. And it's kind of nice to see basically a studio have the balls to where it's not, you can do anything and everything you want anywhere at any time kind of thing. We're all, as has been stated, although we're all our own characters, to other players, we're basically their NPCs kind of thing, And it's a very interesting take. I'm really excited about it.
And I also sort of feel like there's almost the implication based on that quote you were saying that, trying to go back from, for example, if you went to the dark side and you're trying to get back to the light, it could be destructive to you, or at least, cost you something.
Yeah, exactly. Speculatively, I don't know, obviously what that's going to involve. But again, I almost hear Caspian cackling when he types some of these things, where it's kind of like he's just playing the brilliant DM, dungeon master kind of thing in a Dungeons and Dragons game, say, well, you can do that, but, you're going to find out what it costs and what it's going to cost you in order to do that kind of thing. So I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be very engaging. I think it's going to be not kind of like oh, hey, today I'm going to play switch my character to a good soul from being a dark soul. I think it's going to be a very, very involved and lengthy process.
Caspian.
Yeah, and I think that this is such an interesting point from role-playing. Nas, you seem muted because I see your mouth moving. I don't hear you though.
Oh well, we actually have Caspian, I think, answering.
We do.
There, so. So, welcome to the to our first live stream there, Caspian. Very honoured and surprised, but great.
Yeah, we also have Serp. I saw Serp come in, and I believe Kaisen. So other people are hearing Nazlim. I'm apparently not, though.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing Nazlim.
Well, I'm going to have trouble as a host if I can't hear you, what you're saying, because I can't respond to it. So I'm going to unmute my Discord. All right, Nazlim, carry on.
I
don't hear him.
Okay. My audio's coming through the stream, but I'll speak in Discord as well. But for whatever reason, our video
can the listeners please type in whether they can hear Nazlim chatting?
Yeah,
in the sidebar. It might just be me that's not hearing him.
Yeah, D. I can hear him now. If you unmute him in Discord, we can hear him over there, and the live streamers listening can hear him as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, always one problem or another. But the thing that interests me most about this conflict that we're talking about with the Souls system is what happens when we have a PvP count that is a little on the dark side, and he turns out to be a soulmate of a duke somewhere on the other side of the kingdom, and they cross paths with one another. And this duke says, "Well, hey, I'm not going to take a chance of this count, little local count down here in the kingdom taking me out at night. So I'm going to kill him off, And now you have an internal conflict within your own kingdom, and so that's something that needs to be taken into consideration, because there's going to be good things that come from the system, but there's also going to be tricks and obstacles from a kingdom management perspective that are going to get thrown our way because of it as well.
Do you think, Nazlim, that, as a gaming society, and obviously talking, what I'm going to say next just probably affects a small percentage of the gaming community, but there are always those that kind of like min-max and kind of like try to get around like the in-game mechanics. Would you, for example, foresee the potential of, let's say, the example you gave of a duke with a count? Would the duke perhaps at some point say, "Hey, I'll pay you $1,000 or $2,000 to buy your account from you"? Do we have the situation also, I'll throw out there, where it's also been said that soulmates, when they are close to each other, will kind of like pick up on each other's skills. And I think this is brilliant again. It's going to be so rare that it's probably going to be rarer than talents. But if you can imagine that you have two guys who are min-maxers and they're soulmates, and they're in the same kingdom and they hook up, and one is, for example, a legendary archer and one's a legendary swordsman, that duo together, although certainly, can be taken out and everything like that, the amazing fun that they'll have, kind of like just using their min-max skills, I think is brilliant. I love the fact that not everybody is going to be able to attain that,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that, it was discussed at one time that souls may be something that could be traded or handed from one account to the other, but I don't think that's the case. I think souls and sparks are going to be, a few of the things that we can't trade from one account to the other. As far as selling the entire account, I'm sure SBS knows that that's going to happen, but they're not going to condone it, or I don't know whether or not they're going to spend the manpower to come after you for doing it or not, but we just got to follow there. Holy Avenger, thank you for the follow. But, they've said time and time again, there's going to be things that people kind of frown on in other games, selling items for real life money and this, that, and other, but it's going to happen. And, whether or not they they continue to push towards not wanting souls to be a tradable item, I don't think it's going to be very beneficial. You know, in the rare event that you do find a soulmate, you do find that good pairing, like you mentioned. I don't know how long that's going to last. By the time you do find them, you may be halfway through your lifetime.
What if you have the situation, and again, I'm just speculating here, and I don't know how involved the scripting for OPCs is going to be, but presuming that you have 3 souls on your account, right? And let's say that you play a main one, but you find out that your second one has a soulmate within the kingdom. Can you kind of like play that character or that soul until you find your soulmate? And will it be possible, for example, to script him to follow the other guy around so that he's always there and giving him the buffs? I doubt that will be the case, but again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Make him
that would be
boy
interesting.
In your house somewhere, yeah.
I wanted to leap off of something too earlier that Dee was saying about just kind of the layers of possibilities here. And the whole soulmate system to me is very interesting politically, because you could potentially, like if you discovered your soulmate, and let's say that was a person that ran a lot of different disguises, you're not going to be able to see their true identity unless they expose that to you, but you're going to know they're your soulmate. So you see them in 2-3 different disguises, you're going to know it's them every time. You could potentially blackmail them rather than killing them, if they're opposed in affinity to you, and you see them in a disguise, you could threaten to call them out for that, though someone still wouldn't know who their core self was until that disguise was exposed. But you could expose their other disguises, who they're masquerading as, and you could probably demand any kind of payment. Basically, I'm not going to rat you out that I know you also go under this disguise and this disguise unless you pay me this amount or you exchange this for me. Now, obviously, they could still turn around and try and kill you, but if you've got a better security force or better protections in some way, it's going to be a lot harder to take you out. So that blackmail could potentially be a big reward for you.
Kit, if I could piggyback on that comment, one thing that I just think is so cool about the Soulmate system is that it has something for everybody. Whether you're a min-maxer, it can benefit you, obviously, because if you're looking to be the best player, having a soulmate who is also playing with you is really beneficial. And, of course, they can increase your future odds of being the best player and being the most min-maxed. And then on the flip side, like sort of what you're talking about for role players and that sort of thing, it has a whole other aspect to it. And I really do think it just sort of contributes something to every kind of player, which I really like about it.
Yeah, and LB wanted to say something about how it drives stories.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Basically, I mean, it's just so cool. I just can't think of, I don't know, maybe I haven't played the right games, but this idea that there's someone else out there who's, sort of tied to you and sort of you're just inextricably linked together. Basically, and either way, it's a really neat, whether or not they're an opposite affinity of you or whether they're the same, there's a story there. And, for example, if they are the same affinity, let's say you're both good, then, you could be sort of a Robin Hood, Little John combination, just doing good things together. On the flip side, you could also be an evil combination, and, be going around doing evil things together, and you sort of build off of each other. And then, the third option is that you have your opposites of each other, and that itself can drive a completely different type of story, sort of an antagonist story where, you're hunting each other, and maybe you clash with each other all the time, and you start to get to know each other, and you start wanting to know how the other thinks, and you're getting inside each other's heads. And I mean, I just think that's incredible.
Do you think that the story might actually give, a quest, for example, that says, "Hey, you're a good guy, and you need to kill your evil twin," kind of thing. It's interesting because again, Caspian has stated that, the the game needs people to go out and kill good people, and they will be kind of like there's a possibility that that quest might spawn for you if you're of the darker affinity, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe the good guy has, the quest to save the other person, or at least not to hurt them, and so this person's trying to keep them away, and sort of I'm not trying to hurt you, but the bad guy's out to kill you.
But what is to me kind of like amazing about this is that with so many players on a server, that the Soulborn engine is going to generate these quests for us, rather than everybody, oh, have you done such and such a quest yet? Or have you done that one? Or you got to go see this guy, at the inn at such and such a place. Is that it's kind of like it's unique for everybody. And this is, it's almost boggling and phenomenal to me as kind of like how they're putting this together. I'm just fucking excited. I'm just giddy about it, because it's such a leap from your standard MMO,
So you mean not everybody is going to run down the street and find the same idiot standing by a signpost with a glittery star above his head, and not, everybody's not going to run up to that same idiot and talk to him over and over again.
You have to kill 2 rats. That's
yeah,
right.
Exactly. Bring me 10 boar acids.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So we're kind of deviating a little bit off task, but I'll bring it back to the Soulmates. I will talk about role-playing until the cows come home. We all know that. The fact that we can design our characters in this case, and have all the best intentions and play them and react with the quests, the way that it's intended, and then be thrown something that's in character. The game's going to kind of mold us in character a little bit, kind of keep us going down a certain path, and we might start to try and shift our affinity. I know personally, if I were to find my soulmate in the game, and I'm more than likely going to be on the good side of the affinity. I know, surprise, goth, dross, all that good stuff, but that would be more the side that I'd be on. But as a role player, if I met my soulmate and they were on the more evil side of things, I would probably, if that person was willing to not kill me outright, would be trying to figure out how to shift my story to come back together with them. And I think that that's maybe the hopeless romantic in me, but I would want that connection with that character. And from a role-playing standpoint, I could easily see my character becoming, what is the word I'm looking for? Kind of twisted to that darker path because they found their soulmate, and that would be such a surprising and shocking experience for that character, and then it would start to go in that other path. So I think the possibilities there are huge. But I did want to jump over. Nazlim, can you throw up the picture of the select a soul thing that we've seen before, because I wanna have a conversation about this.
Yeah, it's up.
Cool. So we've kind of been talking a little bit on the sidelines about this. The implication that there are 3 souls that we'll have access to per account, and I know that we've seen in the past, I think I'm remembering this correctly, that you can potentially buy more soul packages to get access to different souls, but you still only have supposedly a certain number per account. So this could mean that your soulmate's never in play. What other implications do you guys see for kind of how the souls are being done here?
The biggest thing that I saw here is that there's actually more than 3 souls. And again, bear in mind that this is a picture from a very, very early dev journal. And they might just be testing, and they just had a whole bunch loaded in kind of thing to play with them. Because I would have expected that we only actually have 3 souls on here. But, that's something I think we'll find out as things go on.
Anybody else want to jump in on that?
Just kind of this. But it wouldn't hurt to have a few extra, because once you get locked into that, that battle, I'm probably going to be evil or aligned. I know I sound all sweet and innocent all the time, but you know, my actions in game might dictate otherwise. You know, and so I come in contact with my soulmate. Now we're locked. You know, and we're our affinities are not aligned. It's going to be a battle, and especially if I know who that player is. Even if I kill him, you know, he's just going to, you know, put his soul in another body and come back, and it's going to be a constant battle. So, you know, what might I have to do? You know, I'm a count, so I have my heirs and my family lined up to, you know, inherit all my lands and all my wealth and all my gold that I've been accumulating and stealing from D. So I might want to break away from my family, you know, pass everything down to an heir and go start another family somewhere, just so that, you know, I did, you know, distract you know, that enemy soulmate away from my bigger prize, you know. So the story for me personally, as the starting count of Newell County could change dramatically. I may end up in a shack in the mountains somewhere, you know, spying on my evil arch enemy. I don't know.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so any major points regarding soulmates that anyone else wanted to make today? I think we've hit some of our major points, but I know we were ripping this apart to kind of look at possibilities.
No, I think I'm good, and you know, there's I think, as much as I want to deep dive into it, there's only so much you can do, because it's speculation to go to the first level, and then to kind of like build from that level that you went to, which is already speculation, and to speculate yet again deeper and then deeper, kind of like, you know, just I kind of like think speculating to one level is kind of good kind of thing, you know, but speculating further is kind of like getting very much into the what if kind of situation that is very remote to likely have happen.
Well, we do have some comments in the sidebar that I do want to address. So Caspian says there's no limit to the number of soul packs you can buy. The limit is on the number of active lives you can have, so the number of simultaneous sparks that are active. And it'll be somewhere between 3 to 5. Yes, I'm going to be the altaholic. I'm just warning you guys. I'm going to be on one character and then the other and then the other, and I'm going to be role-playing. I'm actually excited to see if we can OPC script to have, you know, all of our characters in the same spot at the same time. That way I can role-play multiple of them. I'm going to get real in-depth. There was one more point I wanted to hit on the souls before we closed. The topic of permadeath is a hot topic. I think we can all agree on that. I love the idea of the permadeath coup de grace, and I know that it's going to be rare. My only issue with it, because I love it from a role-playing standpoint, because it really reminds me of tabletop role-playing. And I get the feeling to some degree, and Caspian can call me out if I'm wrong, but this game emulates in a lot of ways what tabletop role-playing does. You know, it's not always fair. The dice are not in your favor. And the GM is throwing you curveballs that you never expected. So I love how much role-playing possibility there is here. But if you're, you know, the GM normally doesn't kill you when you're missing the game. When you're out for the week, the GM typically doesn't go, oh, well, they weren't here, so we're going to kill them. So I'm curious to see how that is going to be handled, because I think there was a note about Caspian said, no matter how the timer works, disallowing coup de grace while offline is exploitable. Asking someone to wait a couple of days when you come back from vacation and sign on again is unreasonable. The story isn't always about us, etc. So you might log off and you might come back and you're soul walking. Obviously, the only issue I see here really is what could the financial implications be? You know, some people play MMOs because they're cost effective. So how much could this be exploited to where a person, you know, might not want to play anymore if someone is stalking them from life to life, since that soulmate is going to stay the same, the same soul. Any ideas on that?
Well, I sort of think that there's going to be a bit of a balance there. I mean, for example, if you're a count or a king or a duke, some higher noble, you're probably going to be living in a place where there's not, you're going to have a lot of traps set up, a lot of locks, a lot of defenses and that sort of thing, because you're more likely to be a target. And, because the consequences of it could be greater. Whereas if you're just sort of a random person, you're, like a farmer or a blacksmith or whatever, you're going to be less of a target, and not as many people are going to be as motivated to hunt you down and coup de grace you. So I sort of see a balance there in terms of, cost versus benefit.
I think it also boils down to the fact that, again, remember that Caspian has stated that it's going to be, pretty rare to actually come across your soulmate in the game. The fact that it's going to happen, to me, is just an opportunity to, once again, kind of like play the game slightly differently. Instead of, who are kind of like the bad people in MMOs typically? They're either NPCs in quests, right? Or they're people in another faction. And here you've got a whole new dynamic that's come in, that you're going to have to get your buddies together. Because, just because he's your soulmate doesn't make him invincible. If you're being threatened and you get coup de grace one time and the guy's coming back, well, hey, you're in your kingdom. Get your buddies together and freaking coup de grace him back and show him that, hey, it's not worth your time coming over here, So it's, I love it. I love the difference in the dynamic that it brings to an MMO. And I think we're probably running out of time here. So.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. So thanks, Steve, for wrapping that up. I do want to have a final question. I'm going to get just a brief response from each of you. And then, Noslim, I'd like you to touch on Illyria chat, just a real quick blurb on that. And then I am going to announce the winner of our code phrase. So the question I would like to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Dee, is, do you want to meet your soulmate in game? And if so, would you rather them be friendly or would you rather them be adversarial? And a quick why.
I would absolutely love to run across a soulmate in the game. I would certainly, I guess it depends in which position. I plan on obviously being, playing the king role as one, but I'll probably have a guy out there that's probably relatively humble and like a cartographer, or maybe has some deviant skills to snoop around and maybe pick a couple of locks in a town across the border in the next kingdom over or something. And I think it would be fantastic to be able to have a soulmate that joins me in that. I would probably go as far, and of course we know little about either talents or soulmates at the moment, but given what I know, is I think it might be far more enjoyable to get up to like mischievous shenanigans with a soulmate where your skills are playing off of each other than it would be to kind of like, have an uber talent kind of thing, And the thing with the soulmate is it can roll over from life to life to life, whereas a talent is just for a lifetime and you don't even know if you'll even discover it kind of thing, So I'm all for it.
Awesome. All right, let's jump over to you, Noslim. So do you want to meet your soulmate, and would you rather them be friendly or adversarial, and why?
I would rather they be adversarial because I just like to kill shit, I mean, that's more fun to me. I mean, we can be lovey-dovey all day, and it's not going to be fun.
Hoorah!
Yeah, so I just like to kill shit. So, yeah, adversarial for me all the way. But, chances of us actually finding our soulmate in game is going to be slim to none. I do play the Powerball pretty regularly, so I don't count it out. It could happen.
All right, and Elb, what about you?
I would love to meet my soulmate, and I don't think it would matter to me whether they were adversarial or friendly. I think I'd enjoy either. And actually, I'm going to use my time instead to just point out that there's almost, Noslim mentioned this and D sort of hit on it too. There is almost a lottery sort of feel to this because first of all, finding a soulmate is like winning the lottery, and then imagine if you're kind of a nobody, and all of a sudden you find out your soulmate is a king. Like that's a huge win for you. So.
Yep. So my answer to this is I would love to meet my soulmate in game. I already have my soulmate in real life, but in game is a whole other story. So I would love to. I would either, I just want them to be another role player. Like, that is all I care about, because I feel like if I could find another role player, it wouldn't matter, because we would figure out how to make an awesome story about it, which I think is what the studio wants. So that's what I'm going to say on that. Noslim, 30 seconds. Illyria chat, what can you tell us?
Speaking of features in game, Illyria chat was discussed a bit publicly in the COE Discord this week, which is really cool. If you go all the way back to DJ number 4, the chat system for COE has been known for forever. It's been around since the beginning. But we just now recently started calling it Illyria chat, to my knowledge. What's exciting to me about that is, to me, I think it's coming soon. I think it's one of the, it's a feature like, Soulmates. It's going to be a part of the game, but I think it's going to be here pretty soon. We've got Mud coming out this quarter, and I don't know if Illyria chat is going to be rolled out with Mud or not. But I would think that it would be coming out soon, as that part of the game is rolled out to Alpha 1 backers. They're going to need a way to communicate, I would think. But what's cool about it is that we'll be able to, create our own channels, and we'll be able to talk in game or out of game. If you have an XMPP client on your phone, there's obviously going to be ways to communicate through that. Now in game, you'll only be able to send private messages to your family and maybe your friends. But the point is, we don't know whether or not you're going to be able to, chat from your phone, proximity chat or global chat, or how all that's going to work yet. But the point is, I think it's something that we're going to hear a lot more of really soon. And I think I went over my 30 seconds, but I'm excited that features are coming that we're about to be able to get our hands on. So that's something to look out for. Yep.
Awesome.
And I would also just quickly like to thank Kaizen and Serp and Caspian for jumping in. It was unexpected, but you guys just answering the questions in the live chat and everything like that was just an unexpected pleasure and privilege. And it was awesome to see. Thank you for supporting us, and because at the same time, obviously, we're supporting you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, and thank you, Dee, Elb, and Noslim for joining me tonight. I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner of our drawing for the code phrase, and you are going to have to call out you are still here when you hear it. So these were so interesting, and I really hope that we're going to get even more people on board with these. So as a reminder, this is, I'm speechless. So the code phrase, to remind everybody, was the wet turtle crawls east towards the hare. And we had some really good entries. 2 really stood out. So the runner-up was Luminous Ava, who said, it's a Touresque saying, to win the contract, ease Telltale's hoodwink, a short acronym outlining using mistruths and pleasantry to advance the interests of the Touresque that sounds innocuous to outside listeners. That was awesome. The winning one, man, this person, I can't even read some of the words that they wrote, because this is
maybe cut and paste it into the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that because this is just too much. So here we go. Oh, it's too long. I have to cut it. That's how in-depth this was, guys. I have to cut it into chunks. I'm not even going to be able to send it all.
maybe have Dee do a dramatic reading.
You think I can see anything in this frickin' mask?
Okay, so it's too big for me to copy paste. So it is the Legend of the Den Borodaitan. I said that totally wrong. At the start of the time, Dorteca Bustia wandered the ethos eternally in search of sustenance. When this eternal wanderer found Eguskia, a golden source of eternal life force, she settled in peace. This great trickster Urbia found Dorteca Bustia and stole Exusia and ran, not too fast but just fast enough. This eternal chase was given way to the changing of the seasons. The Dorteca Bustia is the wet turtle, Exusia is the sun, Urbia is the hare, and Den Borodaitan is the seasons, and this was by Trull Hammerin. So if you are still here, give us a shout out in the chat. Yes, they are still there. So we will be sending you your EP to the account of your choice here in a while, whenever that happens, Dee.
I'll send that as soon as the live stream finishes. Katie will give me the account, Troy Hammond, and I'll send you the 100 EP. Thank you for that answer, Katie. In the future, can we limit the number of characters in the answer?
No, this is wonderful. I love it. I love it.
It's like a creation myth.
Congrats, and thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week, possibly with me as the host, possibly with someone else as the host. We'll find out when we get there. So and thanks, guys.
And please spread the word about, obviously we're starting off with just, 20 odd viewers. Spread the word if you enjoyed it, and get more people coming in, and we make it more of a community event kind of thing. Thank you all for attending.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, bye, guys.